Good afternoon, Marysville. Thank you for joining us here at Charger Chat, Marysville Getchell High School's very own talk show. I'm Chloe. I'm here with my co-host, Emma Ray, and we have a very special guest for you today, Marysville's Mayor Jon Nehring.
Hello.
So, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
So how long have you been mayor of Marysville?
Since August of 2010, so I finished off the term of a retiring mayor, Dennis Kendall, and then won a full 4-year term in 2011, and then again in 2015, so about 6.5 years now.
Mm-hmm. So you said you finished off the term, so is that like, is there like vice mayors? Like
No,
vice president?
no, if somebody retires in the middle of a term or for any reason doesn't finish out their term, then the council appoints somebody to finish that term. Then at the very next election, you have to run for the seat. So that's what I did in 2011. So.
Sweet. How long is a term for mayor?
4 years.
4 years,
yeah.
okay.
So this term runs through the end of 2019.
Nice.
So what exactly is like your job as mayor? So what does that job entail?
Sure, good question. So the mayor oversees all the operations of the city from the executive branch. And of course the city council is the legislative branch, which has the power of passing a budget and ordinances and laws and stuff of the city. But so all the employees of the city, report up through all their different managers to the mayor's office. Mm-hmm. And then the mayor is of course the person responsible for that, as well as a number of other duties just on a day-to-day basis, everything from ceremonial things like ribbon cuttings to representing the city in all sorts of meetings and other things. Excuse me. Battling the tail end of a cold. And so it's a variety of things involved in that.
So what does your average day look like?
That's one of the great things about the job is there's such a variety in what happens. So every day is different. A lot of days there's most every day there's meetings outside of the office, or events such as this, whether it's meetings with potential businesses or other elected officials throughout the state or the region. And then there's meetings we have within the office, meeting with the different directors or planning different things around finances, budget, policing strategy, or things of that nature. And then there's a whole host of events that I usually go to, in the evenings or sometimes on a Saturday and speak at or just attend and represent the city. And then there's trips. During this time of year, there's a lot of trips down to Olympia to lobby on behalf of the projects that we're trying to get funded. And then occasionally, to Washington, D.C. to do the same at the federal level. So there's a great variety, but I'd say it consists of a lot of meetings, a lot of speeches, a lot of representing the city at functions, and then a whole lot of emails and phone calls too during office time. So, busy days.
Yeah. It's very diverse, though.
Very much.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you try to get funding for different programs. What are some programs that you're working on right now?
We have a really big one down along the waterfront, and it's called the Quileute Estuary Trail. So we're trying to put about a 5-mile trail system around the Quileute Estuary down in the south end of the city, which would be a really neat kind of ecotourism site. And so we're opening up phase 1 of that in April, but we're trying to get the money to do the whole thing, complete with some overlooks and picnic areas and some really neat aesthetic designs. And then on the west side of the bridge, of the 529 bridge, we'd like to put a full active park in with an amphitheater and some things of that nature. So we're trying to get funding for those. If you're aware of Bayview Trail, which actually ends right out here by Getchell High School, we want to connect Bayview to Centennial Trail so that Marysville residents have access to Centennial. And so that's something we presented in Olympia a couple weeks ago, and it got a very good reception, and we're hopeful we'll get some money for that. And then we also have some road projects that we're seeking funding for, and some public safety things. The good news is we received about $160 million of state funding through what's called the Connecting Washington Transportation Package a couple years ago.
Wow.
That'll fund a 529 interchange, freeway interchange, 116th interchange, which you're probably seeing worked on now. And then it'll put on and off ramps and a full interchange at the 156th overcrossing several years from now. And also do some work on 88th. So we've got a lot of good infrastructure money coming from Olympia and Washington, D.C. that we've lobbied for.
Nice. So it takes a special person to be good at all of these like meetings and like getting funding and all of this kind of stuff. So what got you interested in politics? Like, did you know from the get-go you wanted to do that?
Good question. I it was actually when I was a junior in high school, and I had a couple of really inspirational teachers, one in a contemporary world problems class and one in a speech class. They were very interested in politics and got me very interested in it, and it took off from there. When I was in college, I got on the student senate and got involved in student activities and a lot of that, and it just piqued my interest further. So I always knew I wanted to be involved at some level in politics, but coming out of college, I had a business degree and I got a job right away and worked my way up in the business world. Ended up spending 16 years or so there, but during that time I ran for city council in 2001. And city council is a part-time, it's not a full-time position, so I did that while I was still in the business world. And then when the mayor's position opened up, I threw my hat in the ring for that, and that is a full-time position, so that kind of achieved my goal of wanting to eventually get into full-time work in politics. But I like having the blend of a private sector experience and then now being a public sector. I think it's a good mix of experience to have.
Yeah. So what are some of the differences between, like you said, having like a business career and then having like a political career?
Yeah, I would say there's some similarities. I mean, sometimes I think people view it as more different than it is, but there's definitely differences as well. I'd say in the political world or in the public world, things tend to move a little slower because you have to have consensus with so many entities. If you're in, let's say you're running a small business or you're part of even a larger business like I was, managing a group or a team, a lot of times you can just say, I want this to happen and make it happen. In government, like I mentioned, we're getting all this infrastructure funding. Well, we have to go to Olympia and make our case, and we need legislators and other elected officials around the county to help support us. It's not always as simple as just saying, I want this to happen and make it happen. And then, of course, you're dealing with different branches of government, a city council and whatnot, and so they have their say. And so the dynamics are different. It's much more of a collaborative effort, I think, than is always the case in the business world.
Sweet. Well, when we get back from our first segment, we're going to take a break right now.
Okay.
We will be getting a little bit more in depth and talking about your inspirations for the political world. So
fun.
right
Thank
now
you.
we have a segment for you guys. This is the battle for ASB president. That was a weird segue, but I went with it.
So, what you doing?
I'm running for ASB president.
That's interesting. I am too.
Vote for me for ASB president.
Okay. Vote for me. Okay.
Hey, Lucy.
Hi.
So you know how I'm running for ASB president?
I'm aware.
Well, you should totally vote for me because I'm just funnier and I'm nicer and I'm just better.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
So you know how I'm running for ASB president?
Yeah.
Well, you should vote for me because I'm like so much prettier and like smarter and like
You should totally vote for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the votes are cast, the results are in, and we have our winner. Your next ASB president is Lucy Seitz.
Wait, what? Lucy? Yeah, probably should have told you guys I was running.
Welcome back, Marysville. We are here with Mayor Nehring. So, like you said earlier, that you had a couple of teachers that inspired you to get into politics. Do you have any politicians that you admire?
Oh, a lot of them, yeah. On a local level, Bob Drill's somebody I've always looked up to. He's been a real good mentor for me. Looking back across history, I love studying Abraham Lincoln. I think what Abraham Lincoln did is you can always, even though there's been thousands, probably hundreds at least, probably thousands of books written about it, every time I read something on Abraham Lincoln, I find something new that is inspiring. And so Yeah, there's a lot. I've been really blessed with a lot of good mentors, not just in the political world, but professors and in the business world too. I had some really good bosses and supervisors that invested a lot of time in me and training. So I have a lot to be grateful for in that end.
What do you think is the biggest issue facing our city at this time?
You know, I think when you talk to citizens, public safety is always at the top of their mind, and so we've got I think a police force that's second to none, that does great work in our community. And I do think citizens are always concerned about, especially particularly now, the opioid epidemic and the drug problems that we're facing as a country, not just in Marysville. But that drives a lot of the crime, whether it's home burglaries, car thefts, car prowls, whatever it is. A lot of it comes back to people just trying to get money for drugs. Mm-hmm. And it's a really sad and an urgent need, you know, in the country to deal with this epidemic of so many people that are destroying their lives through drugs, and it's leading to a lot of other crimes. So I think the opioid epidemic and public safety is probably right at the top of the list. Transportation's right up there too, traffic congestion. Those projects I mentioned, the interchanges and whatnot that we have funded in the next several years will help alleviate that. We also have the council budgeted some money for local road projects that I think will help too. And so I think those are two of the primary ones right now.
So how does it feel knowing that you're helping our city with issues like this?
That's one of the more rewarding parts of this position. You know, I think coming to work every day is motivating because I feel like I'm investing in my own community. And, you know, and I always tell the residents and businesses in Marysville, I have just as much a stake in this as they do. I mean, I've lived here for 25 years, we've raised our family here. Our kids never knew another home, went through Marysville schools. So everything that I do on a daily basis, obviously I do as part of my daily work, but also because I have a real vested interest in Marysville and seeing Marysville prosper, just like you all do. So it's actually a pretty rewarding thing to be able to go to work and make that type of investment in your own community every day. I'm real grateful for it. I'm blessed from that standpoint.
So you mentioned a little bit about your family. Can you tell me a little bit more about them?
Sure, yeah. So I have my wife, Mary Ann. We've been married since 1993, and 3 kids. Nate's our oldest, and he's actually on the Snohomish County Council right now. He got a teaching degree from Western Washington University. Kristen is at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix. She graduated from Getchell High School, as did Nate. Nate graduated from here. And then Nick, our youngest, is a Running Start student at Everett Community College. So, yeah, so they're all, wonderful wife, 3 great kids. So I'm real happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Is it sometimes difficult to balance your family and personal life with your admittedly busy job?
Yeah. I mean, it is. Fortunately, I love what I do, but yeah, there's the thing about mayor, or any of these kind of positions is there's a lot of, you have your regular 8 to 5 day, but then there's 2 to 3 nights a week, a lot of times where there's a night meeting or event that you're speaking at or going to, and then some stuff on the weekends. You'll have Saturday events or speeches or an occasional Sunday. So sometimes it does crowd into family time. I'm actually pretty guarded of the few weeknights where I don't have a meeting on the schedule to, make sure I get home and have a night or two at home, hopefully every week, because it does get rare sometimes. But I enjoy what I do, so that makes the events fun as well.
So what are some things that you guys do on your days off?
Well, we like sports. We're big sports fans. So Aqua Sox games, Silver Tips games, Mariner games, and then of course, as our kids were growing up, we did all their sports, and I coached a lot and did that. So a lot of that. We also like to hike, so we try and do some hiking in the summer, and we like to do some traveling too when we can. And so we try to get a vacation in here or there and see somewhere new. So those are, and we do like to, although we haven't done this much a whole lot lately, but once a year or so we like to do either cross country or downhill skiing. So
Ooh,
yeah,
that's fun. So you mentioned before that you were on the city council, and your son is now as well. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, I was on the city council before. My son's on the county council right now. So yeah, it's not in Marysville, Snohomish County Council, but the city council. So within Marysville, you've got the executive branch with the mayor and reports all the different departments, and then the city council would be the equivalent of Congress at the national level. And so there's 7 city council members. And so if we have an ordinance we want passed, or when I present my budget, the council ultimately has the final say on that. Those 7 members will vote as a body on any new laws or regulations or ordinances, resolutions, whatnot in the city of Marysville. And so yes, I've experienced both the legislative side on the city council and now on the executive side as mayor. And yeah, both are very, very interesting, very valuable and indispensable really to the running of any city.
Yeah. What's the process like to become mayor? What's it like to run a campaign?
Sure. Yeah, it's involved. I mean, so typically it's about a year-long process, 10-month process at least. The elections are in November, so you typically would, at least when I did it, get going in about January, start planning your campaign, announce. You got to start raising money. You know, it takes $30,000, $40,000 at least to run an effective campaign in a city our size. And then, you know, you got signs, so you're putting out signs. I doorbelled probably 12,000 houses.
Wow.
Which means that pretty much all your nights and weekends for, I'd say from about April to November are gone. You know, maybe you have a night here or there, but if you're going to doorbell effectively the entire city, you've pretty much got to block out most of your nights and most of your weekends for about 6 months. So it's a busy time if you're running, especially when you're doing your day job as well. You're pretty much looking at about between the two 90 hours a week. So when I'm running a campaign, we pretty much put the rest of our lives on hold for that 6-7 month period. So yeah, it's actually a great learning experience, and you learn a lot about your city during a campaign. I was in every neighborhood, you know, so you get to talk to a lot of people, learn a lot about what different businesses and people are experiencing. So it's a rewarding experience and a lot of hard work at the same time.
Yeah. What have you learned from some of your experiences as mayor?
Oh, a ton. I think just the great community spirit that we have in Marysville, the great volunteer spirit too. We've got some amazing people that do so many great things in this community. Everything from working at a cold weather shelter to working with other needy people, getting them food, volunteering at the YMCA, the school district. So much of that. And then also just the diversity of needs that exist in the community. You know, depending on, you know, what neighborhood you're in or where at, there's just a lot of different issues that are going on, and a lot of different things that people bring to the table. I try and hold these coffee clashes regularly where people can just come and share what's going on in their neighborhood. Some will be there and say, hey, we've got a drug house in our neighborhood and it's just destroying our quality of life. Others will come and say, hey, thanks for that, the new road you paved right outside our neighborhood, or for the new park that we have in our neighborhood, you know. And then others will come and talk about how difficult it is transportation-wise. And so you just learn a lot about the different challenges and the different great things that are going on in the community. And we try to be really responsive in the mayor's office and in the city in general to try and do what we can to meet people where they're at in their neighborhood and to try and make this a better community for everybody.
So we are going to transition into another segment
All right.
here. So this one is something that you would never want as a mayor to happen to your city.
Uh-oh.
Here is the silent film Dinosaur Attack.
Welcome back, Charger Chat. It's me, Emery Hansen, and then Chloe, and we're here with Jon Nehring. So, what do you believe is your biggest accomplishment as mayor?
Well, I always like to preface something like that with, you know, anything that that we accomplish it's a team effort. So there's nothing nothing that really one individual does, but I am particularly pleased with the transportation package that I mentioned to you. You know, for a long, long time, when there was state transportation packages passed, little or none of the money came to North Snohomish County. And I personally, and a lot of us at the city and in North Snohomish County, elected officials, mayors, and others, spent about 3 years really crafting a package for Marysville that we felt were important projects for the whole region and for Marysville. And we worked in conjunction with great partners at the Economic Alliance Snohomish County, in Snohomish County government, and other mayors and elected officials in Snohomish County. And we went and made our case in Olympia. I mean, for those 3 years, I was in Olympia a lot, as were a lot of other folks. And so I felt like crafting that package, all the time and effort we put into it. The city council gave us money to do a lot of design and engineering to get the projects to a point where they were really ready to be built, which made them more competitive. And at the end of that 3-year process, to get several of those projects in the Connecting Washington package and to have roughly $160 million of state money going to be invested in Marysville over the next 10 years, I think is really important. That'll transform the landscape of Marysville and leave a lasting mark on our community. And it also, when you do stuff like that, new businesses take a look and say, wow, there's going to be an interchange here. This is going to open up a new area for hopefully manufacturing jobs and whatnot out by the 156th interchange. It'll provide us in a way in and out of the city around the railroad tracks with the 529 interchange. And the 116th interchange will clear up some of the mess there. So anyway, I think that's probably, if I had to point to one single thing that we have accomplished that makes me most proud, it'd be that. And I just, stressing again, it's a team effort. I mean, I spent a lot of time on it, but so did a lot of other people. So.
Yeah. So you were obviously just talking about like transportation. Are there any other city services such as like parks or law enforcement or schools that you're particularly passionate about?
Oh, all of them. Yeah. I mean, you'll find I'm pretty hands-on and passionate about all of them. I'd say, public safety is another one that's right up there. So I get the chief and I review the crime stats every single month, go over strategies that he's implementing, and so I'm really involved in that, passionate about that. And parks as well. You don't raise 3 kids in a community, especially if they're really active in sports and whatnot, without having a passion for recreational opportunities. And we're really blessed with a fantastic Parks, Culture, and Recreation department. And they really are amazing. And so you have a lot of free or low-cost offerings in Marysville that other communities don't offer. And so we're passionate about that. We want to provide a quality of life for our community, and parks is a big part of that.
So how did you know you wanted to help Marysville? Like, how did you know you wanted to become mayor?
I think when I moved here and had kids, and as the kids start getting into school and getting involved in activities, that for me was kind of really the thought of, maybe I should get involved in local government. Because sometimes I thought it would be neat to be involved at the state level or whatever, but local government, it's amazing how much local government impacts the day-to-day lives of people, city government, county government, whatnot. And so I found that to be fascinating, and I thought, well, get involved in the city council, and then now as mayor, I mean, you really can impact the day-to-day quality of life of a community. Whereas it's not that you can't if you're more distant at state or federal level. It's just takes a long time for those decisions to trickle down here. Whereas we implement a budget action here in Marysville, and it starts paying dividends right away. So I think that's what really motivated me to make a difference here, to try and make a difference here.
So I noticed you keep using the words quality of life. So I was just kind of wondering, what does that exactly mean to you, and how would you define that for our city?
Oh, great question. Yeah, we like to say, we have a little motto that says, live, work, and play. So we would like for people to have a quality of life here from the standpoint of, a home, a quality home, and a good neighborhood, and a safe neighborhood. We're trying to get more opportunities for people to work in Marysville. We're trying to put together what's called a manufacturing industrial center with Arlington and Marysville. It involves a whole lot of master planning and working through the Puget Sound Regional Council and a whole host of other things to attract high-paying or family wage jobs to this area. And then the play component is the recreation component that we just talked about with Parks and Rec. So I think the quality of life encompasses certainly safety. You've got to feel safe in your community, good quality home, hopefully at an affordable rate, and the opportunity to maybe work here for some folks. Not everybody's going to work in Marysville. And then to recreate and really enjoy your community on evenings and weekends or whenever you can. We'd like to think that is something we can offer to all our citizens.
Yeah. So what do you hope to accomplish for Marysville this coming year, 2017?
So we have an aggressive agenda. One would be that trail system I talked about around the Qualoot earlier in the interview. We have several localized road projects, mainly in the Smoky Point area where the traffic congestion from all those new apartments and retail outlets is coming into play. So we have some local road improvements we hope will help a little bit there. And then on the other side of the freeway, on this side of the freeway, actually, the east side, we have road improvements going in that we hope will help to continue to attract some of the job space we want to. And then public safety wise, we want to continue to drive crime down. So we've hired new police officers and we're working hard on that. Police have a great plan. We're also putting an emphasis on quality of life issues from policing. We have a new code enforcement unit that deals with trying to just clean up neighborhoods and clean up the right-of-ways in the community. So we want to clean up the image of Marysville so that we have a real pride in our community and our neighborhoods. Yeah. So that's another goal. And then kind of a facilities review too. A lot of our facilities were built when we were a community of 10 or 15,000. We're 67,000 now, the second largest city in the county. So we need to review where our facilities have worn down, they're no longer efficient, and see where we need to upgrade those. And maybe there's some properties we sell off and then some facilities that we improve with that money or consolidate.
So I'm glad that we are hiring new police officers because in this next segment, we have some crazy criminals.
That's good.
Sorry about that, a couple of technical difficulties. But so as we wrap up the show, is there anything else that you would like to add? Any advice you have for anyone looking to get into this career?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come and interview. This is a great program you all have. Yeah, I would say if, whatever it is you'd like to do in life, whether it be get into politics or whatever, what I did is that, you develop a passion for something and then you just chase that dream. Yeah. Whether it's through schooling or not, and you don't always get there right away. For me, it was 16, 17 years in the private sector before I got full-time work in politics. But you just keep it there in the forefront of what you're going after. And then also just want to say thanks to all the residents of Marysville for making the community such a great place to be mayor of. Without them, there's no me, and so and no us at the city. So we recognize we're here to serve the citizens, and that's what our job is on a day-to-day basis. And we will seek to continue to do that throughout 2017.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. It was a lot of fun to have you. And thank you guys for coming to watch. We will see you next week on Charger Chat.